over the world, detective stories are the most popular kind of fiction. Everyone has their favourite detective. But who is the most famous detective of all?
Well, we shall soon know.
Inspector Morse.
I don't think so, Watson.
I think Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, Sherlock Holmes.
Well, Sherlock Holmes.
I think Sherlock Holmes. Absolutely Sherlock Holmes.
Is he? Is he? No, he is.
The Sherlock Holmes stories are famous everywhere, and it's the character of Holmes that makes them so popular. So, what sort of man was he? Everybody knows what he looked like. He was tall and thin, with a long nose and sharp eyes. He smoked a pipe and carried a magnifying glass, and he wore a deerstalker hat. Although he is a fictional character, Sherlock Holmes had a real address, 221B Baker Street in London. Today, this is the Sherlock Holmes Museum. Many people believe that Holmes is a real person. Every day, letters for him arrive at this address.
Oh, Dr. Watson, this came by hand for Mr. Holmes, not 10 minutes ago.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
Holmes was a very intelligent man. He was an expert in chemistry and investigated crime like a scientist.
The murderer came in through those French windows. The mud from the garden he brought in on his boots.
That wasn't very difficult, was it?
Elementary, my dear fellow.
Sherlock Holmes had many other abilities too. He was strong and athletic. He was a good boxer, and he was a master of disguise. He was also a superb violinist. In fact, he was the original Superman. But there was another side to his character. Although he was very clever and successful, Holmes was a rather sad person. He thought everyday life was boring and depressing. When he was feeling miserable or bored, he spent all day in bed, and sometimes he took drugs.
Drugs?
Yes, he took cocaine. Before it became illegal, of course. He shared his flat with his only friend, Dr. Watson. Holmes never fell in love, and he never married. He said that he didn't understand women. Dr. Watson described him as a brain without a heart, more a machine than a man. Detectives are often more famous than the writers who create them. Let's see if people know who wrote the Sherlock Holmes stories.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
I don't know, sorry.
I don't know.
The author of the Sherlock Holmes stories was Arthur Conan Doyle. He was born in Scotland in 1859. He was a doctor, and he wrote detective stories in his spare time. Conan Doyle wrote 26 Sherlock Holmes stories between 1887 and 1895. Then he decided to kill off his hero. Holmes' greatest enemy was Professor Moriarty.
Oh, Professor Moriarty. Not to what am I indebted for the pleasure of this visit.
At the end of the story, called The Final Problem, Holmes and Moriarty fall into the Reichenbach Falls in Switzerland. But the Sherlock Holmes stories were very, very popular. Readers were very upset. Conan Doyle didn't like the Sherlock Holmes stories very much. He didn't think they were serious, and he wanted to write historical novels. But public pressure was too great, and he had to bring Holmes back to life. Conan Doyle continued writing stories about his detective hero for another 25 years. I wonder if Sherlock Holmes will still be famous 100 years from now, and will people still write to him?
Well, it's possible, quite possible.